Hi, this is Roy with BTMS Insiders, and I just did this pricing and content survey. I put a lot of thought into getting it right and really accomplishing some specific goals with it, and it gave me a lot of interesting data. And I thought, even though this isn't like an official BTMS Insiders training, I would record this quick video explaining how I went through the process and how you might use some of the thinking behind my survey if you are ever in a similar situation. So this video is broken down into really three big parts. One is the survey overview, kind of introduction to the survey. Number two is talking about part one of the survey, which is the upcoming training topics. And number three is talking about part two of the survey, which is the membership pricing survey. So first things first, let's dive into the survey overview. So what was this? It was a quick survey to ask about upcoming training topics I'm considering, as well as pricing for the potential return of a monthly membership. Now, really the second thing was probably the biggest motivator for doing the survey right now. But while I was putting the survey out, I thought that I could make it more valuable both to me and to members by using it to also get feedback about upcoming training topics. And actually, after doing that, I decided that I really like that methodology, and I'm likely to run surveys more often to help me prioritize upcoming training. And just on a purely technical basis, this was conducted through Typeform. And so when you see some screenshots, or if you went through the survey yourself, what you're seeing is screenshots of Typeform. Why now? So I'm in the middle of a transition away from doing client work towards Breakthrough Marketing Secrets and BTMS Insiders, which means that I actually have time to deliver more value to members. This was actually why I moved away from the monthly model before. For the last year or so, a little more than a year, I've sold BTMS Insiders training exclusively on a one-off basis or a lifetime access to everything basis. And that was a great deal. And the lifetime might either go away or kind of be hidden, assuming that I am launching a monthly again, and monthly will become the primary model. And because I'm not going to be doing really any long-term client projects for the foreseeable future, I'll actually be doing more consulting and coaching with more clients, but I won't be doing the kind of in-depth, months-long copywriting, promotion, building that I've been doing with clients. And so moving back towards this model allows me to spend a lot more time delivering value on a monthly basis. Hence why I've started doing monthly insiders calls and how I'm setting up to do a lot more training. So BTMS Insiders has been successful. My goal here now is to grow and scale it. It's primarily been successful through kind of organic growth with some paid advertising, but not very much. That's going to change. But in order for that to happen, I do need to nail down offer economics for paid traffic. So the big trifecta that you need to get right is traffic, conversions, and economics. And the subscription model allows for a substantial boost on the economics front to help with that quite a bit. And also, I want to deliver the content that's valuable to you. So there's dual motivations. I figure it's no initiative that I do for BTMS Insiders is a win unless it's a win for both me and you, and actually the world as a whole. So that's my approach to life and to business. So who got this survey? Number one, lifetime members, people who have basically paid one fee to get access to all training for life. Number two, the current monthly members who are on the grandfathered plan. That hasn't been available for a little over a year, like I said, but the people who signed up, they will continue to have their membership honored for as long as they maintain it. Previous monthly members who had canceled at one point or another, individual training title purchasers, and a handful of others. So it was kind of a mix of people. Select people got the survey based on their engagement with BTMS Insiders. Quick overview. I do have some screenshots of the questions. I realize that it would probably be helpful to kind of preserve that as part of this. So this was the welcome screen. Please help me with these quick BTMS Insiders questions, take 5 minutes or less to complete. Part 1 is about upcoming training topics. Part 2 is about membership options. I did really try to make this be something that would take 5 minutes or less to complete unless you chose to answer the open-ended questions in a lot of detail. So you could click through quickly, and I tried to make all the questions as quick to answer while also making them as valuable as possible in terms of the data that they generated. I said, please note, you must fully complete the form for me to get your answers. I will read every response, things in advance. And I did get a very high form completion rate, probably in part because I said that on the welcome screen. Then I asked people's full names just so I could kind of keep track of that and know who it was. Also, by the way, I used Typeform to pass through email addresses as an identifier, as a hidden field. Just it's a nice little feature as you are looking to track this. I probably could have pulled their names through as well, but in this case, I just chose to do the email as the identifier and ask them to enter their name. So what best describes your level of BTMS Insiders membership or training? Again, I still have a lifetime pass, monthly membership. I had a monthly membership, not anymore. I bought some training. I don't have any BTMS Insiders training yet. And the distribution was this. I have a lifetime pass. I had a monthly membership. I still have my monthly membership. I bought some BTMS Insiders training. I don't have any BTMS Insiders training yet. So, the majority of people have either the lifetime pass or have been involved on the monthly, so they got access to the entire catalog. There were 45 respondents. It says 45 out of 46 on everything because I ran through some test data ahead of time and then deleted one, and that's still showing up here. So this is based on 45 respondents. So let's dive into the more exciting parts. Let's start with the upcoming training topics. So I said, the next BTMS Insiders training is a complete revamp of the Client Getting Blueprint, and it's already deep in development. I expect it will become the most comprehensive title in the catalog. You'll get announcements within the next couple weeks as training is added. So that's going on, right? I wanted to establish that up front. That is already going on. That's non-negotiable at this point. After that, I have a few ideas for further training. I've included 8 here. For these questions, just give me your quick gut reaction that best represents your interest in each topic. You'll choose from love it, like it, neutral, don't waste your time. This will help me prioritize going forward. So I threw that in to kind of set the frame and make it really easy to respond to these next ones quickly. So Direct Marketing 101, how to create fast growth through response accountable marketing. This is, again, and all of them, the options are the same. Love it, like it, neutral, don't waste your time. So you can just click, and it makes it easy to respond. Direct Marketing 101, like this is something that I would really love to do. Copywriting 101, fundamentals of results-driven direct response copy, sleight of pen, advanced persuasive language and logic for copywriters. Training your unconscious mind, boost your happiness, health, prosperity, and impact. 0-day profits, funnels, cart value, and creating maximum customer value. Irresistible offers, maximizing profits with right offer and revenue models. Money mindset, principles, beliefs, and behaviors to build wealth fast. Consultative selling, how to sell high-ticket products, services, and expertise. And then thoughts on these upcoming training topics. Anything else you'd like to see or challenges you'd like some help with. And I made this one optional. Everything else, all of these open-ended questions were optional. All of the multiple choice were required. But almost everybody did reply to this. So what was the data I got back? Well, what I did was I actually did a count on these. And so like for irresistible offers, and this has already actually been sorted in a different way than you saw it on the previous lineup. But I did a count for all the people that hit love it. I put that in one column. All the people that hit like it, I put that in another column. All the people that said neutral, all the people that said no or don't waste your time, I put that in another column. And so this is out of Excel. This is the beginning of what I put into Excel. And I have more here to come, and we'll talk about what all was added. So as you can see, things were, there were even more topics that were suggested. Those were labeled as write-in. And I don't know if you see the numbers across the top. So next to love it says 10. Next to like it says 8. Next to neutral, it says 3. Next to no, it says -1. And for write-in, it says 30. And what I did was I tried to come up with a scoring mechanism or scoring algorithm that would basically assign value to the responses to help me order it. So if somebody loved it, I'm going to give that a score of a 10, right? If somebody liked it, I'm going to give that something lower than a 10, but still fairly high because they're still interested in it, right? If they're neutral on it, I'm not going to, I'm still going to give it a little bit of a score because I want that to count towards the total. They didn't say no. And if they did say no, I'm going to create a little bit of a negative effect from that. Then the numbers of no's were so small that, okay, that's all right. And then write-in, I actually, because it required people to come up with the idea as they're answering the open-ended question, I wanted to give lots of points to a write-in. And you know, they say if somebody complains, it means that there's 10 other people who aren't complaining who still feel the same way. Well, if somebody writes something in, it probably means that there's a bunch of other people who are interested in it, but didn't necessarily write it in or think of it as they're going through the survey quickly. And so as you can see, like email copywriting and strategy, variations on that. Got 3, traffic and list building, got 2, funnel building and strategy, got 2. There were specific mentions. A few people did, oops, I skipped forward. A few people did add that they like the mindset stuff. And so I gave write-in scores to things that people specifically called out in those open-ended questions as well. You know, there's other things down in here. And I'm sure you're scanning. You can always hit pause on this video if you really want to stare at the data for a while. So then what I did was I scored everything. And like I said, I used these multipliers. So for love it, I did 10 times 22. For like it, I did 8 times 20. Neutral, 3 times 3. For no, it's -1 times 0 in this case. For write-in, 30. And then I added all those up to get the score. And then I sorted all of this based on the score. So I played around, actually. I played around with like the write-ins being worth 20, being worth 30, being worth 50. And as soon as I started to put numbers like 50 or higher, it really started to change the order. But going all the way up to 50, it was still fairly consistent. Now, that doesn't mean like... Okay, so what should I say about this score? What I should say about this score is this does not necessarily dictate the exact order that I'm going to do this training in. However, it does tell me a lot about what has the most interest, what has the most preference. So like irresistible offers was one that surprised me. Somebody mentioned, and I did an irresistible offers YouTube video a week or two ago, and somebody mentioned, oh, you should totally like put some time and attention and effort into doing training like this in BTMSinsiders. I would love it. And so I threw that in here. And I was surprised that there's just so much interest in that between like it and love it. Sleight of pen was actually one that I thought, there's probably some people who are interested, but I, you know, maybe they're not, what do I want to say? There's maybe some people interested, but maybe this isn't as great of a fit as something like Copywriting 101. Well, I was totally wrong there, right? So I came up with a fairly good order here, I think, based on interest. And so from there, I learned that this is a fairly good order for training to be in, at least based on today's priority list. Again, I'm not tying myself to the scores, to that information. However, I do think that this could be really useful to me in deciding what training I'm going to do next. So more recommendations that came through was more action items tied to the training, like making sure when I do the training that I'm very clear about giving you next actions to implement. And actually, I think that you're going to love my approach to the client getting training coming up because of that, because of the focus there. Some of the things that feel a little bit more theoretical, I'm thinking, for example, proof credibility and believability. Well, it's like absolutely core copywriting understanding to really nail down your proof elements, but it's much harder to create action items from that training. That said, I am taking this as important feedback. More tying frameworks to examples. So when I give any kind of outline or something like that, it would be even more beneficial if we could actually walk through and create copy based on that, or find specific ways to apply the frameworks that I am teaching by looking at marketing that's out in the marketplace. Also, there was definitely a request for me to do more live workshops. Those have been very well received by the people who come to them. They haven't been huge in terms of quantity of people, but they have been life-changing for the people who have come. And I do really like doing them. So all of this is noted. Again, takeaways. My priorities don't totally match yours, which is good to know. So some reordering is likely. Some new training ideas have been added. And I also received optimization data to make each training better. Now, part 2 of the survey was the membership pricing survey. I was actually really excited for how this came out, and I made a lot of assumptions, and I think that I came up with what I believe to be a fairly sophisticated approach to doing a pricing survey. And I think that I'm not trying to brag, but I'm really impressed that I feel like this nailed it. I feel like this is a really good model for a pricing survey. So the questions. Let's do the screenshots really quick. So I said I'm weighing whether or not to reopen monthly memberships for BTMS Insiders All Access Pass at a much higher monthly fee than I previously offered it. The All Access Pass includes access to all the training in the BTMS Insiders catalog, plus all new training added while active, plus the new monthly Insiders calls, plus more potential benefits. Currently, the only options are buying individual training titles or paying $1,997 for lifetime access to everything. For active members, this will not change your pricing or access. I wanted to make that clear. This is pricing for new members only or for lapsed or previously stopped memberships. My big question here is about the monthly membership fee. So the first thing I did was this open-ended, how much would you expect the new fee to be for a monthly membership to the BTMS Insiders All Access Pass? You might consider how the fee would be low enough to be easy to say yes, a great value and worth keeping active, high enough to represent the value of the training catalog, and fair to you based on what you've already invested. So the one thing I don't want to do is, like, somebody just invested a lot of money in the lifetime access. I don't really want to feel like, oh, I then launch a monthly training that monthly membership that undercuts what they paid. I want to honor that. It's one of the rules that I follow in my business and in my life is my variation on the golden rule, which is treat others the best way you want to be treated. And so I usually find ways to implement that in terms of pricing. For example, locking in the grandfathered monthly membership price for anybody that wants to maintain their old monthly subscription and has maintained it since at least since that price stopped being offered. So I said, please enter a number only, no dollar signs needed. The one thing that I will state here is this was a number, and I used a verifier to make sure the number was higher than 0. It did end up sticking in, some people, just to get past that, they put in like a 1, 2, or 3. And so there was some management of that data coming through that I will tell you in a minute. So after you saw that, the questions were, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend BTMS Insiders membership as a great deal at a monthly price of $297. So that's the next question. And it's the 0 to 10 scale. And then the only thing that changes for these is it drops down: 297, 197, 97, and 67. So I asked the same question across 4 prices. And then the last question: do you have any comments or thoughts about monthly membership or pricing you'd like to share? Anything you like or don't like? So this was an open-ended question. How much would you expect the new fee to be for a monthly membership to the BTMS Insiders All Access Pass? I actually ended up running average, median, and mode on this. Median is the number in the middle out of all of the selections. Mode is the most common response, and average is the average. So with all the 1s, 2s, and 3s in there, the raw data had an average of 87, with the median number, the one in the middle of the range, being 95, and the mode, the most common, being 97. Once I filtered out the 1s, 2s, and 3s, the average price that was entered was $112. So it was a little bit more than $100. The median, again, was 97, and the mode was 97. So basically, there was a lot of, all of the expectations here is right around that $100 price point. And because you guys know that I use the 7s in my pricing, I think that a lot of people threw 97 in there as what they would expect the monthly to be. So why did I ask this first? Well, in short, because I wanted to get your input before I started asking you to respond to prices that I put out. And so what that does is like it gives me your input, hopefully untarnished. There is a way that you could like go backwards through the data and so on, or go backwards through the questions and so on, and you could you could go back and change your answer to this later, but I'm going to assume that you didn't, and that this was fairly unfiltered as far as how much you expected me to offer it for. And then I wanted to hack the Net Promoter Score. So the NPS is the Net Promoter Score, and it's a question that you see all the time. On a scale of 0 to 10, how likely would you be to recommend whatever to a friend or colleague? And the way that it's scored is if you are if you do a 9 to 10 on that 0 to 10 scale, you're considered a promoter. If you do a 7 to 8, you're considered passive, and 0 to 6, you're considered a detractor. And the way that you get the Net Promoter Score is you take the promoter percentage, the percentage of people who were promoters, and you subtract the percentage of people who were detractors. Now, there's all sorts of things that you can do with the Net NPS survey, but what I wanted to do here was use this as a way to gauge reactions to the different prices. And so you've already seen the questions. Like my idea was I could use this to determine what price represented a good value for BTMS Insiders in its current state. But I will note that part of my reason for putting price second and not first was that once you had thought about all the upcoming training, it would probably increase the perceived value of the catalog because it got your mind thinking about all the training that could be in there. So I decided to do a step down of pricing, and the two main prices that I was considering were in the middle, the 197 and 97, but I decided to put one that was higher and one that was lower. I had somebody recommending, actually multiple people recommending that I go with the 197 price because the value is absolutely there, but I also had a little bit of hesitation at just launching at that and feeling and ending up in a situation where if the uptake is not as high as I would like it to be, feeling, or if the cancellations are much higher than I would like them to be, feeling a little bit stuck because I would much rather raise the price for new members than decrease it. So if I go to 97, I can always bump up to, I didn't include 147 in this, I'll note, but I can always bump up to 147 or 197, especially if I decide to add new features. But it's much harder to go down from 197 down to 97. Now, it maybe would have been better if I randomized these 4 numbers. Probably it actually would have in terms of the statistical modeling of how this applies throughout time. But I actually didn't care that much. What I wanted was kind of a gut reaction to the market. The other thing is I was using the principle of price anchoring. So if I say, would you think it's a great value at 297? Would you think it's a great value at 197? You're anchoring in your head this higher price. And so I'm kind of trying to find, like, if in like a sales letter, you might step down prices. You might say, you're not going to pay $297. You're not going to pay $97. All you're going to pay today is $97 to get this. Well, what you're doing is you're anchoring the higher prices and trying to establish like what the value is. But by going even further, I got to see if there was a big difference. For example, if I were to try to price this at the lowest price to make it as accessible to people as possible, like, would that have been a great idea? So this was the distribution of these. I took a screenshots out of the report. So at 297, you can see there's a few people who said that it would be a great deal. Like they would consider it a great deal. But there were a lot more people in the neutral or demoter category. At 197, you can see it creeping up, but still there's only the number of people who are in the promoter category of 9 and 10 is still pretty small. We get down to a 97 and suddenly there's a big jump. There's a lot more people at 9 and 10. 10 is by far the highest, the most commonly selected option, and the whole distribution has moved over to the right. And then at 67, the distribution is even farther to the right, and 10 is even higher compared to all the other numbers. But we'll look at that in just a minute. So analyzing the data here, there was a definite threshold at $97. So this is me actually going through the entire NPS, the entire NPS analysis. So there's 45 people that answered each question. For 297, 3 answered at a promoter level, which was the 9 or 10, which was 7% of the total. 12 answered at the passive level, which was, 7 or 8, and that's 27%. And then 30 answered at the detractor level, which was 6 or lower, which was 67%, to give us a net promoter score of negative 60%. And then you do the same thing with 197, a net promoter of negative 36%. Then we jump to the positive at 97, where 24 people fell in the promoter category and 9 fell in the passive, 14 fell in the detractor. So that gave us 22%. And at 67, the promoter score was actually higher. So that was at 51%. The really interesting thing is that $97 threshold matches the self-reported data on the open-ended question. So I had the open-ended question to just get a general sense, right? And then I had the closed-ended questions, the net promoter score, to essentially test the different price levels without putting them into the marketplace officially. So then how do you make a decision? Like if you go back here, obviously the net promoter score on $67 is much higher. It's 51%, and it's 22% on the 97. But like, what kind of assumptions can you make? What can you figure out to determine where it's going to be the best choice for, where do I ultimately decide it's the best choice for me and for my business? So one thing I did was a little thought experiment here, and I said, okay, well, let's say, so some people tend to answer more neutrally, some people tend to answer more positive, some people tend to answer more negative. All of that stated, like, somebody could buy it and still answer at a neutral and still be fairly happy. Now, if they're in the demoter category, I'm going to assume that they don't buy. They don't think it's a great value. So what I wanted to do was I added up, like, what is the revenue generated by if every promoter bought at the $97 price. Well, the revenue generated was $2,328. And if every promoter bought at the $67 price, so $97 had 24 promoters, 24 times 97 is 2,328. If all 30 promoters bought at the $67 price, it's $2,010 per month, right? And so actually, if you look at that number, the $97 price leads to more revenue. Doing the same thing with the passives, 9 times 97 versus 8 times 67, again, more revenue. Totaling those two revenue amounts, 3,201 versus 2,546. So at the $97 price, even though the net promoter score is a little bit lower, the total number through the door playing in this thought experiment would be lower. The total revenue generated from, again, this hypothetical thought experiment is higher. And so that helps me make the decision. Now, I'm not going to tell you my final decision, and I don't know that this is the final decision. But one thing that I definitely took away from this is in the current state, unless I were to add something substantial to BTMS Insiders, 197 and 297 are probably too high of prices, that the ideal price is going to be somewhere around that $100, maybe a little less. So the takeaways, okay, so 97 seems like the right monthly price. I might, I don't want to finalize it in this video, but it seems like the right monthly price based on the response to this survey. It does meet the market expectations. It's very close to the self-reported open-ended data. It feels like a good value when I ask the question in a way to elicit that. I feel like it does honor the previous lifetime investment. So even if you spent $2,000 and paid for a lifetime of access, or even if you spent that in the future to pay for a lifetime of access, that is made up in less than 2 years at $97 a month. And based on the thought experiment that we did, it has a high probability of maximizing profits. Now, for the work of launching it, this is likely to actually happen pretty soon. I'm not launching it as part of this video. It's not today. The lifetime access, if you paid for lifetime access in the past, you'll continue to get all the benefits. There's, within the context of the previous agreement. So you paid one fee to get access for life. You're going to keep getting it. Active monthly subscriptions will not change. Again, this is not increasing the price on the monthly subscriptions that are already out there. You are grandfathered in if you have maintained your subscription. And I have this as kind of a to be determined. I may offer some kind of upgrade path from single titles to monthly if you want to access all of the, if you would like to access all of the training in the catalog and pay a monthly subscription for that, as opposed to the one-off purchases that you've already made. So when I do launch this through Breakthrough Marketing Secrets, that's something that you would want to look for in terms of what type of announcement I make around that. So this has been the pricing and content survey analysis for BTMS Insiders. Again, I'm Roy Furr. And hey, thanks to those of you who completed this survey, who helped me gather this data, and thanks to you for watching this. I hope that this has been informative and valuable for you to get some ideas around how you might use a similar survey, especially the pricing survey, which was unique and something that I came up with by mixing a couple different models, how you might use that to benefit your business in making similar decisions. So again, thank you, and I will see you again in your next training.